Good afternoon, everyone. This is Helen Gray from Governance Services. Chair, I believe all expected members and officers are present. Are you ready to begin?
I am indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is Helen Gray from Governance Services. Under agenda item 1 of today's agenda, Councillor Richards was nominated as chair prior to the start of the meeting. Are all members agreeable? Thank you very much, everybody. So thank you very much. Councillor Richards is formally elected as chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this remote hearing of the Licensing Subcommittee. My name is Councillor Richards, and I'll be chairing today's hearing. Before I proceed any further, could I just remind you that today's meeting is being streamed live on the City Council's YouTube channel. And could I ask the following members of the subcommittee to introduce themselves? Councillor Paul Drinkwater.
Hello, Councillor Paul Drinkwater from Killingbeck and Seacroft Ward.
And Councillor Jess Lennox.
Hello, Councillor Jess Lennox representing Crossgates and Winmore, sitting on today's subcommittee.
Right. I'd like to start the hearing today by confirming that this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee meets the requirements of the Council's constitution, even though members of the panel are in remote attendance. While items today will be fully discussed as is usual, remote attendance requires a few slight changes as to how I will manage the debate. So therefore, can all attendees mute their microphones unless I invite them to speak? This merely avoids disruption from any background noise. And can all participants please keep the cameras on during the hearing if possible? And can all participants be invited to introduce themselves at the start of the hearing to make it clear to public observers who will be involved in proceedings? I ask for your assistance and patience while we go through this, and if there are any problems, please let us know. Could I now invite officers to introduce themselves and to mute your microphone once you've done that? So I'll start with Rob Brown, please.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm Robert Brown. I'm a solicitor in Leeds City Council's legal services, and I'll be the legal advisor to the subcommittee today.
I've got Matthew Nelson.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Matthew Nelson, part of Entertainment Licensing Section. Thank you.
Helen Gray.
Good afternoon. I'm Helen Gray. I'm the clerk for the meeting today.
And could I ask the applicant or representative to introduce themselves?
Good afternoon, it's Uzma Hussain. I'm the business manager for S&W Properties.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Wajid Hussain, the director of S&W Properties.
Thank you very much. We also have an objector present today who wishes to remain anonymous. Could I now ask the clerk to go through agenda items 2 to 5?
Sorry, apologies. Thank you, Chair. Under agenda item 2, there are no appeals against the refusal of inspection of documents. Under agenda item 3, there is no exempt information on the agenda. Under agenda item 4, there are no late items. And under agenda item 5, can I ask members if they have any disclosable pecuniary interest to declare?
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
So agenda item number 6, we have the application for the grant of a premises licence for Abu to Go, Unit 7, Clock Buildings, Roundhay Road, Leeds, LS8 to SH. Could the legal advisor to the subcommittee outline the procedure for the hearing?
Yes, Chair. Our usual procedure for this type of application is that the applicant addresses the committee first, and then any other parties who have indicated an intention to speak at the hearing will then address the committee, and then the applicant has the chance to respond to anything said by the other parties. In making its determination, the subcommittee will consider what is appropriate and proportionate to promote the licensing objectives, namely 1, the prevention of crime and disorder, 2, public safety, 3, the prevention of public nuisance, and 4, the protection of children from harm. The regulations permit the subcommittee to set a time limit on presentations, provided that the same time limit is applied to all parties. Our usual time limit is 15 minutes per party. And the applicant may wish to split their allocation between their initial presentation and the response to the other party. For example, 10 minutes initially and 5 minutes at the end. Can I ask the applicant or the applicant's representative first of all, whether they believe that they would need any longer than 15 minutes for their submissions.
No, thank you. I think that should be sufficient enough.
Thank you. And can I ask the objector whether they consider that they would need any longer than 15 minutes to make their submissions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Then a time limit of 15 minutes per party will apply. After each presentation, the subcommittee members may wish to ask questions. The time for questions to be asked and answered is in addition to the time limit set for presentations. Could I also ask the applicant's representative whether you wish to split your allotted time in any particular way? Do you want to have 10 minutes and 5 minutes? Do you want to do it as 12 minutes and 3 minutes, or do you want to just see how you go?
If we can, we'd just like to see how it goes. I mean, we have prepared a statement. I don't think we need 10 minutes. So if we could just, we'll keep a time from our end.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. Please note that we do not permit cross-examination in subcommittee. If any party feels there is a crucial question that needs to be asked and answered, please do not ask the person direct, but instead make a request to the chair, who will then determine whether or not the question should be put. Parties may request permission to call witnesses. Can I ask if any party wishes to call a witness today?
No witnesses from us.
Thank you. And I take it no witnesses from the objector.
No, sorry, no witnesses from me.
Thank you. All documents that have been submitted have been copied and circulated to the subcommittee in advance, and everyone should have the same original pack, which is numbered up to page 37. It would be helpful when referring to documents to identify which document you're referring to by its bundle page number. Additional documents may now only be tabled with the consent of all the parties. Are there any additional documents that any party wishes to refer to today?
No, no additional documents from us.
Thank you. Please note your presentation is your only opportunity to address the subcommittee, so you need to make sure that you've included in your presentation everything that you wish to say and to have taken into account. After the parties have made their presentations and after any questions, the members will consider whether they have all the information they require to make a decision. Once this point is reached, members of the committee will go into a private session. If members have any additional questions to ask, they will then return to the meeting to ask those questions. And then they will return to private session to make their decision. Can all parties please remain in the meeting until they're asked to leave? All the parties will be informed once the hearing has ended and will be advised of the decision in writing within 5 working days of today. Can I ask if there are any questions or representations about the procedure we propose to follow before we commence the hearing?
No, thank you.
No, that's clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So could I ask the licensing officer to present the application, please?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Chair. So today members are asked to consider an application for the grant of a premises licence made by S&W Properties Limited for a Boo2Go Unit 7, Clock Buildings, Roundhay Road, Leeds, LS8. The application explains the premises will operate as a late night restaurant. So in summary, the application is for the late night refreshment. That is every day from 11 p.m. until 1 a.m. the following morning. The performance of recorded music, which is also every day from 9 a.m. until 1 a.m. the following morning. And the opening hours proposed are from 9 a.m. until 1 a.m. the following morning. Further information on the operating schedule can be found in a copy of the application, which is attached to Appendix A on page 11 of the report. And this also contains at Section M, the steps that the applicant is willing to take to promote the licensing objectives. So the application has not attracted any representations from responsible authorities. However, it has attracted a representation from a local resident who expresses concerns in relation to public nuisance and antisocial behaviour. The objector has joined us today in an anonymous capacity and has remained that way throughout the full application process. A copy of the representation, including supporting photographs, can be found on page 31 of the report at Appendix C. And finally, a list detailing the licensable activities and hours of licensed premises in the surrounding area is provided at Appendix D on page 37 of the report. That's it. Thank you, Chair.
First one to do it. Great. Could I now invite the applicant to present the case, please?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you just for highlighting obviously what the application is for. It saves me going through my statement. So our business opened early 2017 at Unit 7 Clock Buildings, Roundhay Road. It's a desserts restaurant. We have previously applied for a licensing application highlighting the three areas as previously mentioned. An application was granted due to administration error and a change in management. The application had actually lapsed, hence why we had to submit a new application. Mr. Hussain, who is with me, is the director of S&W Property, and he is also named the application and responsible on the licensing application form. So in terms of what we have asked for, and the reasoning behind this is to allow flexibility around our trading hours. Since we have opened our restaurant within the area of Roundhay, this has brought local members of our community together. Families, it's a very family orientated restaurant. It's not a takeaway environment, which majority of the establishments in Hare Hills and Roundhay are. We do offer obviously takeaway facility, but we do have facilities where families, groups of people can sit together. And we also offer free Wi-Fi, which attracts a lot of our younger generation, especially our teenagers that do come along to our restaurant. We also have a mezzanine floor, which is used for smaller events and gatherings. We've previously hosted in the past Macmillan Coffee Mornings. We have an active book club meeting that takes place. We've hosted council meetings, events such as birthdays, celebrations, etc., and also festive events as well. And obviously we actively take part in what's happening around our community. So I suppose our restaurant is really in the heart of the community, and we have many celebrations that take place. I suppose the reason why we want to extend our opening hours and closing hours, because it will grant us flexibility, as our previous license did. What we did in our previous license is we monitored our busiest days and acted accordingly of what was working for our establishment. So for example, we saw that there was a peak and a demand to open later for say Thursday, Fridays and Saturdays, and on the remaining days we closed a little bit earlier. So we closed at 12 o'clock and then only opened where we found trade to be at its peak until 1 o'clock. On our previous application. And I suppose it's not just about opening late, it's also about opening a little bit earlier. It gives us that flexibility as a business to actually change our menus. So for example, we are able to open early to serve breakfast to our community. And we've also found that having this flexibility attracts more customers. We have a number of customers that are repeat customers that come along to our establishment, which has also our establishment has also attracted customers from out of town. And I suppose the beauty of our restaurant is that where we sell desserts and cuisines, a majority of our customers, which are now Leeds based, tend to visit us rather than visiting local neighbouring cities. So I suppose it's keeping that revenue within our city, which we're then able to then put back within our business. And I suppose And as I just mentioned, it's obviously we've seen an increase in out of towners obviously also visiting us, where they're able to do their shopping nearby, get their groceries, able to come and just have a coffee or have something to eat, and then obviously head off home. And extending our opening and closing hours will also create more employment within the area, because obviously there will be a need and a demand for more staff to operate within these timescales. And I suppose if we didn't have the flexibility and we didn't have the option to open early and late, I think from our previous licensing application, we figured out that we would lose approximately about 30% of our weekly takings. This would result in a reduction of our staff within our restaurant, which will obviously then create an employment. Our restaurant wouldn't be as attractive to those that, say, visit the cinema on a late evening, you know, to actually come along to have something to eat. And as I mentioned, it's quite a family orientated, so we want to be able to keep to the needs of the demand of what our customers are wanting, and also we want to be able to keep up to sort of date in terms of what the larger businesses are offering within the city centre, and also trying to keep up to date with those neighbouring cities as well. And I suppose what we would do is we would lose the custom, which makes our offer attractive. And I suppose our main thing really is, as a business, we want to ensure that we survive the pandemic, as a lot of other businesses have been going through struggles. So have we. And then I suppose just the last the area I just wanted to touch upon was the complaint that the objector has highlighted, which is about public nuisance. And I suppose what we have done and are doing is we've taken a couple of precautions already. So Cock Building hosts a number of occupied businesses within the unit. There is 23 flats which are also occupied within Clock Buildings. And in terms of the noise and the nuisance and the car park, so our gates are secured. So when we trade, they are opened, and when we closed, they are closed. We have CCTV, which is operated and recording images. We hold that for 31 days. What we have found is that a number of non-customers are also using our car park to shop, to visit other facilities. So we've taken into precaution where we are asking our customers to register their car registration details with us. Our staff is now monitoring the car park on an hourly basis. And in terms of when we have previously opened late, or as we do open late now until 11 p.m, what we do advise is that when our customers are leaving our premises, that they just ensure that the noise is kept to a minimum, because it is a residential area, and majority of all our customers do abide by this, and we have experienced no issues. So I suppose I just want to end there. That's really mainly our statement. We're happy to answer any questions. And I suppose I just want to really thank the objectors for highlighting these issues to us and obviously bringing it to our concern, because we are in the heart of the community. We are based within the community. You know, Mr. Hussein's been in the community for the last sort of 30 years. They have a number of businesses as well. So I think we're just going to stop there. I'm just going to hand over to Mr. Hussein because he's just got a couple of points.
Hi, I'm Wajid Hussein. We have been doing business there for the last 30, well, in the area for the last 30 years. And I'm also a local resident. So we just want to make sure that we don't cause any issues for any neighbors. So we want to resolve the matter regardless of what it is. We've tried contacting the objector and sit down and resolve the matter, but we couldn't do that. So we're just here to resolve the matter, really. Like I said, like Usman said, the business is in the heart of the community. and it's a very unique business, and it brings a lot of diverse communities in the area also. So I hope we come to a solution, as this will affect the business and community and employment levels through the pandemic which it has.
Yeah. So that's it really from us. Do you want to add anything else?
No, it's fine.
No, that's from us. We don't want to add any further points at this point.
Well, that sounds, thank you very much indeed for that. Okay, could I now say, does the subcommittee have any questions to the applicant, please? Yeah, Councillor Lennox.
Hello, thank you for walking us through everything. Just regarding the parking, how, as a restaurant, I'm just trying to get my head around how busy things might be, because obviously there are, as you mentioned, other businesses in the building. How many covers or tables or customers per sitting, or how many people at a time do you think that you'll be having? What's your maximum capacity? It would be helpful if you could give us an idea, sort of post-COVID, what your maximum capacity would be. And also, do you intend to use the restaurant for any functions or parties or anything like that? If you could let us know.
Hi, thank you for your question. So our capacity within our restaurant, we can hold up to a maximum of 70 people. So that would be operating on the ground floor. And then, like I said, we do have a mezzanine floor. In terms of functions and events, we have hosted these in the past. So again, the times sort of vary. We've had birthday celebrations that have taken place midday, mainly on a weekend. We've had parties and functions that have taken place in the evening, so approximately between 6 and 9. And then we've obviously hosted meetings, which again, depending on those that are hosting the meetings, it depends on their availability, and obviously what our capacity and our availability is within our restaurant. And I suppose the last sort of couple of occasions that we had before the pandemic was a pre-wedding celebration where we hosted, and we had about 40 people. We've also, again, birthday celebrations have varied from intimate family sit-down meals to a maximum of, again, 50 people.
We've also had community meetings in there too.
Yeah, so we have community meetings. We have a majority of our councillors from Leeds City Council that also do come and attend and use the mezzanine floor because it is quite private. Again, that's that could be from 5 members to approximately 15 members. Is that okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Drinkwater.
Yeah, just one question. Some of the photographs show people in the car park using shisha pipes outside in the car park. What activities do you promote in the car park? Are you supplying those pipes, and are you encouraging people to use that outside space?
So thank you for your question. In terms of the car park is used for customer parking only, and that is for our businesses. As I mentioned, there is other businesses that occupy clock building units, and also there's residents which also occupy 23 flats which are on the first floor. So what we have taken precaution is the use of the car park, and we have been finding that during the pandemic a number of cars had gathered to meet within the car park, but the precautions what we have taken is that we have monitored CCTV, which is now being used to record images for 31 days. Those that are using our facilities, we are asking them to log their car registration details, so we know that actually those are our customers. And this is also being monitored by walks outside by our staff. because obviously we take this really seriously. You know, we're in the heart of the community where we have various age groups, diverse communities attending. That's not something Mr. Hussain is about promoting. You know, we do take care, we want to take care of our health and well-being and the population that is around it as well. So unfortunately, it's just been that when we've had non-customers come into the car parks have actually bought these along, we have then taken measures to actually go outside to ask them to actually move along, and that we will be obviously monitoring this closely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have a subsidiary question, Councillor Drinkwater? No. I was just wondering, obviously you referred to the fact that the restaurant operates as a restaurant, but also will do takeaway in that way. Can you give us any idea of the proportion of one to the other? Because obviously that will again impact on the parking and the throughput of customers.
Thank you for your question. So we would estimate our 70% of our business is restaurant based and to eat in.
Prior to the pandemic.
Yeah, prior to the pandemic, so it's all changed now. And I would say 30% is established via, so we offer a takeaway, which customers can ring our restaurant and collect, and then we also offer a takeaway system via working with our partners. So, for example, Just Eat, Deliveroo, and Uber Eats as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Has anybody got? Yes, I was just going to say, Councillor Lennox.
Sorry, I'm waving. I didn't want you to move on. Just the opening hours that you've applied for. Do you anticipate to be open from 9 till 1 a.m. every day? As it's been applied for, is that going to be every day, or is that more that you may use it until that time, or how do you anticipate using the hours if they are granted in your new licence?
Thank you for your question. So I suppose this application is to allow flexibility and for us to meet the demand of what our business requires. So our previous application, we submitted exactly the same opening and closing hours. However, we opened from, we currently do open from 12 midday and we close at 11 a.m. Sorry, PM, not AM. And as I mentioned, I suppose what we did was we monitored what the demand was and when the peak hours were. So, for example, when we wanted to host a pre-celebration or an earlier function, we opened from 10. So when we did our Macmillan coffee morning, we opened from 9 a.m. Until 12 midday. We have the book club that comes in a little bit earlier. Again, they want to meet at 10 a.m. So again, that allowed us that flexibility. So our trading days where we found that our peak trade was Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And this is where we then decided to extend our opening hours to 1 a.m. So I suppose it's just to ensure that flexibility and that we can then monitor what our options are and our figures and act accordingly. So the answer is that our intention is not to open every day till 1 a.m. It's just to allow that flexibility as and when we needed to, or to cater for events or celebrations.
Thank you for that. Do either of the councillors have any further questions? Thank you for that. Right, so please could I ask that the objector now presents their case?
Hello, thank you. Yes, I think it's in line with my written objections. I don't think there's anything new, but I'll just go over what I wanted to say. So apart from the 23 flats that are in the same building, there are many houses nearby, including mine. We're already affected by a number of issues. I don't expect book clubs and coffee mornings to be taking place at 1 o'clock in the morning. So at the moment, there's been an awful lot of antisocial behaviour, parking. I've never seen those gates closed, and I live very locally. The rubbish in the car park, the number of people filling the car park, parking all up the roads nearby. It's a small road as it is, with a doctor's surgery in it and a church. So there's already a lot of coming and going, if I can put it that way. So there's the parking issue, people churning up the verges, leaving rubbish on the verges. I'm not suggesting that the premises supplies takeaway glass containers that I'm aware of, but there are people bringing their own drink and parking there. Broken bottle on my drive this week. A lot of rubbish that's clearly come from the premises that people take away, ice creams and plastic containers for drinks, milkshakes and stuff like that. So there's an awful lot of litter all over the place, including nitrous oxide cylinders down the road. I've picked up bags full of them. It comes as a bit of a surprise to me to say that it appears that the applicants weren't aware that the car park was being used for shisha. It's been used for weeks on end during the strict lockdown that we had. That in itself caused an awful lot of problems, as you can imagine. Going back to the car park then, people parking down the road, gathering there in large numbers, racing cars up and down the local roads with no speed humps. So that's also kept us awake late at night. My husband works night shifts. He's not been able to sleep because of the noise. I've even been to the premises to talk to customers, to ask them to think about what they're doing, especially during the lockdown. I'm happy for people to know that my husband's paramedic and was extremely upset by what was going on at the time. Hence me actually going and taking some pictures, because I was gobsmacked as to what was going on. The idea that people brought their own shisha, there's a tent actually in the car park. It seemed to be a fairly organised thing, with someone coming and going to cars with shisha pipes. I didn't see anybody turn up and unpack a shisha pipe out of the back of their car. However, I did see people turning up, bringing what looked like trays of food and such like as well to the premises. So I think that was the essence of my objections to the 1 o'clock extension. Would anyone want to ask me anything?
I was going to say, yes, I was just about to say, do members of the subcommittee have any questions they would like to ask the objector? Yep. Councillor Lennox?
Just thank you for everything that you've said and for the information. Just regarding the rubbish, is it possible? Because I know there are other buildings in the premises, other businesses in the premises, and there are other other takeaways and other businesses around that area. To your understanding, is the litter issue based in the business in question? How do you think? Do you think it could be possible? Do you think that it's possible that it's cumulative from lots of businesses around, or do you worry that this is a particular issue with this business?
The layout of the building is such that the flats have their own bins completely other end of the building and not in the car park. They appear to have their own cages with the big green bins in with the red lids at the other end of the building through some gates. This car park that we're talking about is at the back. And as to who's putting rubbish in it, I don't know, but you'd have to go into the car park to put your rubbish in. I presume if it's a shared car park with the Phantom Lounge, that's the only other premises that's on that side of the building, that the rubbish could be from them. I haven't ever been to have a look in the bins themselves. I just know that the car park is usually strewn with litter as well, you know, piles of it in all corners. So the car park itself isn't being kept very well. In fact, those photographs looks quite good, but then if you're wanting people to turn up and smoke shisha, you don't want them to stand in a load of old rubbish. So it was cleaned up. and it's been terrible. And people have dropped the litter up the road as well. So I can't tell. I haven't looked in the bins to see where the rubbish is from. I just think the layout is such that it's got to be either all theirs or any refuse from the Phantom Lounge, whatever refuse they have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes. Right, I think that concludes the objector's presentation. So now to the applicant, you have a further 5 minutes to summarise your application, and you might wish to address some of the issues raised by the objector.
Thank you. So yeah, just a couple of points that obviously the objector has raised in terms of the car park. So how the building works, and obviously the 23 flats that are there. Yeah, there's 2 entrances, and the bins for the flats are actually at the rear end of one area, but there also is another entrance which is actually joins our building and which is actually near the car park. So and we have
we monitored people living upstairs to come downstairs with the rubbish and they put it in our bins, and sometimes they litter around us. The entrance comes from there also.
Yeah, there's an entrance there as well.
Into our car park, there's 2 entrances, one to the rear of the car park,
yeah,
and one is in the front of the building.
Yeah, and we have approximately how many bins? I think
2 bins there.
2 bins there.
Collected twice a week.
Collected twice a week. And we also have our staff who actively collect rubbish from outside.
In the car park, yeah, but we can't be looking at the streets.
Yeah, the car park area, obviously our steps to the entrance, etc. And obviously we do that actively, probably how many times a week? 2
to 3 times. It depends on the amount of rubbish there. But it's been it's a lot better now as we monitor it. We can't be checking the cameras, and we monitor it quite often.
Yeah, and I suppose we can't, and I suppose the other thing that we'd like to mention, we've got other businesses which are close to us. So we have, I think,
Bright Future in front.
Bright Future, we have Saint Celine, we have Chaivala, and another business that
a new boutique.
Yeah, that also tend to use the car park, and then they also tend to at times use our bins because they don't have any of their own. So I suppose what we're just saying is that we, in terms of what's been accumulated from our establishment, we are trying to control, we are trying to monitor this. Those that are littering, those that are littering that are, for example, non-customers, I suppose we can't really control, but we do monitor that. In terms of the noise, as I mentioned in my previous statement, is that non-customers have been using the car park, which has obviously caused our customers an issue in terms of the parking through the pandemic. And as I mentioned, we are now monitoring that to ensure that the car park is only used for our customers by registering their details. Our CCTV, having spoken to PC Clifford back in June, we just wanted to ensure that we're taking the correct measures, and as a business we're obviously abiding by the policies and the rules that have been set in place. So PC Clifford and I had a very lengthy conversation about the prevention of public nuisance, noise, and sort of if we was to be granted a late night application, what would that entail? The playing of music and how we can control that. And obviously, taken on his suggestion, we have agreed to obviously what he has implemented and obviously forwarded on to you as well.
The applicants, what the applicant has.
Yeah, so in terms of the issue raised for the
nitrogen,
is it nitrous oxide cylinders, I'm afraid this isn't part of our establishment. This is not something that we were aware of. And the same with the shisha, because we don't promote shisha within our restaurants, and we don't sell it either. It's not on our menu for something that we promote or do, and plus we don't have planning permission for that. So I just wanted to sort of highlight that this is sort of news to us in terms of our restaurant.
Okay.
You want to add anything else?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
No, that's all from us now. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that and for responding to some of the objectors' points there. Right. I think that concludes now, and the subcommittee will now move into private session to deliberate on the application. Could I ask that all parties, including the applicant and their representative and the licensing officer, remain available, so that should the committee have any additional questions, it'll be easy to do. If there are any additional questions, you will be invited back into the meeting by the clerk.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify that members, the legal officer and myself are now moving to a breakout room for the private discussions, and we'll return to the meeting room with yourselves once those discussions are complete in about 10 minutes or so. Thank you.
We all assembled? I think so. Yeah, so are we able to ask the subsidiary questions, which we do? Yes? Okay. Right, could I ask the applicant, please, the following sorts of questions to give us some more detail. Regarding the car park, we've mentioned that you do close the car park and that you ask people to move on. Could I just ask, do you have sole ownership of the car park? Do you have the right to actually shut it to all other participants in that way?
Hi, thank you. So we are not sole occupiers of the car park, because there's a number of other businesses that do tend to use the car park, and also there is the residential occupancy of the 23 flats there as well. But what we have done, because obviously this has been highlighted as an objection within our application form, we have taken the measures as I've mentioned. We have spoken to the rest of the businesses to inform them that this is what we will be doing, because majority of the car park is used by our customers. So we've spoken to the remaining of the units to inform them that this is the time the car park will be opened, and this is the time the car park will be closed as well, and all the businesses are in agreement with this.
I think the issue was after 12 midnight, because people used to come into the car park and do whatever they have to do and use that car. So we've started. Sometimes we didn't close the gates. So now we close the gates every day.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. And we were just wondering, you mentioned a shisha venue. Do you have any connections with that particular establishment? And do you know if that is the case that they use the car park at all?
So in terms of the shisha, and so that is not something which is on our menu. We don't have planning permission, and we strictly do not condone or sell that on our premises. We had an issue during the pandemic when we was closed during the lockdown, that a number of cars which the objector has taken pictures and supplied, they did gather within the car park. Had takeout food, and also there is also pictures showing of the shisha pipes.
I think the pipes are coming from upstairs, the flats upstairs.
Yes, we were notified that some residents were actually using the shisha downstairs as well. Because we were closed during the pandemic, obviously this was highlighted to us. But I just want to reiterate and just confirm to the panel and to you, Chair, that we do not condone, we do not sell, and we're not established with shisha. So we want to, obviously, it's family business, it's in family environment, we're at the heart of the community, and as mentioned, Mr. Hussein's family and himself have been within the area. They've got other multiple businesses. They are the heart of the community, so obviously they've had their reputation as well.
Sorry, if I may, I think the question from the chair was actually to do with whether you have any association or any connection with the shisha business.
No, not at all.
No.
No, that's fine, because there is one locally, we believe. That's absolutely fine. And the other question, you talked about flexibility with the extended hours would give you, and we were wondering whether, if that peak flexibility as you've identified is on Thursday, Friday or Saturday, whether having the extension for those particular days would be sufficient, or whether there would be other occasions when you might need that extension, say to 1 o'clock, and if that was the case, how many times a year do you think you might need that extension?
Yeah, so as highlighted in our previous application, this is what we had monitored, that these were the peak periods and this is where we did open. However, just wanted noted that there was no concerns of noise during that period when we had the application granted. I suppose in terms of us, it's about flexibility. So we have the month of Ramadan, which takes place for 4 weeks. We during that period open later, and during the 4 weeks we open till 1 o'clock, because obviously our trading hours and our custom was completely different, so we adapted. We've also had functions, so whether they've been celebrations, wedding parties, events that have also taken place throughout the year, and we've obviously then catered for those. So I suppose the reason why I just said to have that flexibility is to allow us to meet the demand of our customers, and obviously provide the need and the supply.
It's being flexible also.
Yeah, so it's about being flexible. So when we did have our license granted previously, we opened from 12 p.m. and we closed at 12 a.m. And then it was only during those peak periods, so the Thursday, Friday and the Saturday, that we actually traded till 1 a.m. And then, as I said, as I've mentioned, like say the month of Ramadan, obviously to allow for celebrations and events. Do you want to mention something?
There's also these shifts, also shift patterns we have at the restaurant. So we have the first shift starts at 12, finishes at 6, and the second shift starts at 6 and finishes at 12.
Yeah.
So it's even shift.
Yeah, so it's obviously it's for our staffing as well, so we're enabled to have the adequate amount of staff to cover the opening business hours.
Oh, okay, thank you very much for that information. Right. The other question which was raised was whether you talked about the fact that you've gone till 12 on that one, even though there are occasions when you actually extended it to 1. Would there be occasions when perhaps you could we're back to the car park again, earlier, when you've actually finished trading? So for example, if you had an event happening, maybe a wedding or something, which would, everybody would be there by 10 o'clock at night, would it be possible to actually shut the car park up at that point, which would then lessen the potential problems later on? And then open it up for those who leave?
Yes, of
the
course.
car park's full, yeah.
Yeah, so if we have an event going on, I suppose what we have started doing and have done in the past is we've documented that in our terms and conditions with those that are hosting the event, just obviously to ensure that it's a security measure for us, and that there's nobody else occupying the car park, and that the fact that their cars are obviously secure as well. So we wish to continue doing that, and we're more than happy to ensure that happens.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay.
Oh, sorry, can we just add something?
I'm not sure. Are we allowed to make any more contributions?
No, that's fine.
No,
That's
it's fine,
fine.
not to worry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed for all your contributions and for answering the questions so fully. Right, so in essence then, thank you everyone for your attendance, and that concludes the business for the day, and you will be informed of the decision within 5 working days. So thank you very much for your attendance, and the committee will now retire to finalise.
Sorry, before you go, if I may, Chair, sorry. I think you asked about how many times per year it might be necessary, or
I did.
They might expect to need that. I think there was the period of Ramadan, the 4 weeks, but also they said there will be further throughout the year, function throughout the year. I just wondered, perhaps you didn't get an answer quite to how many times that might happen in the rest of the year if you take out the period of Ramadan.
Good point. Thank you.
So I suppose if we go on to the previous license that was granted until 1 a.m, I suppose I'd say over the year, we'd probably say about 80% of the time we opened because there was a need, or a demand. And then obviously our summer period is obviously quite busy as well. So I suppose I can't really give an accurate answer.
Or any sort of percentage, because
Yeah.
it depends on the business.
Yeah, it just sort of depends on our business, but we know obviously what our peak periods are and what our demands are, and when we're actually busy. So
with all this pandemic, we don't know what lies in the future.
Yeah, so I suppose it's just to ensure that we have that flexibility, that if we wanted to open, that we are able to. But like I said, at this moment, well, previously it was only until 12 midnight, and then obviously the peak period, peak period was the Thursday, Friday, and the Saturday. But like I said, if we wasn't granted those opening and closing hours, I suppose we wouldn't be able to meet the demand of our customers. And then I suppose the other weird thing is about what you mentioned about the car park, is that, you know, we can be flexible and we can close the car park, as we mentioned, a little bit early. Does that sort of answer the question? I suppose I can't really predict on how many events and how many functions like we have until like late night, but if we go by the previous year, then I'd probably say 80% of the time there was a need for us to actually open our business until late. Not necessarily till 1 o'clock, it could be until 12:30, whereas obviously people are clearing out, but it gives...
12, majority of it's only in the month of Ramadan where we open
till 1
a.m.
Yeah.
Throughout the 11 months, it's 12. Our last order is at 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 12:30. Is that clear?
Happy with that?
Well, it's up to you members, but anyway, I'll
yeah, I think it's as much information as we're going to get at this point, so I think we'll base ourselves on that. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're back to everything else then. Decision within 5 working days, and thank you very much everybody for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.